Hello Canada, welcome back to another edition of the Canadian Citizen Journal. I'm your host, alias Tagai. Well, we've got a fair amount to go over here today. It looks like the Ukrainian Heritage Village just outside of Edmonton has lost some buildings in a fire. We're also going to talk about Carney's latest presser he had just after the debates. And then we're going to tie in a whole bunch of just kind of little segments that, little segues, we'll call them, that kind of fulfill where we're at with what happened, of course, at that nightmare from the media, and just some of the complete hysteria from mainstream over pretty much everything. And then I got a wicked story on the end here about a cougar that was rescued. Remarkable story. Stay tuned to the end for that one. Let's just start off with this Vegreville fire. Not good. This is just some raw footage that I had found. We'll just kind of watch a bit of it here. Obviously not a good thing. Now, from the sounds of it, it was a grass fire that started on the opposite side of the highway. And yeah, it doesn't look good. I guess the winds were so bad the helicopters couldn't actually access or drop water. There's an article here with a little bit of a reporter talking.
Fire is now contained, but that wasn't the case earlier in the evening. Thanks in part to large, strong winds. They prevented airdrops of water to battle the blaze. Now, we do know that this fire impacted the Ukrainian Cultural Heritage Village, a popular destination for field trips and history lovers. RCMP confirming multiple structures there have burned, including the visitor center. But the full extent of the damage at this hour is unknown. Rural residents in the area of Range Road 195 near the Yellowhead Highway told me they first noticed smoke around 2:30 in the afternoon. When they went to investigate, Lamont County Fire was already on scene.
We had people over for dinner, like a lunch and stuff like that. And so then on their way home, they had noticed there was something burning at the Ukrainian village, so they had sent us texts.
Things progressed quickly from there. Michael and Jamie Bevan from the Rubicon Ranch Sanctuary said an RCMP officer showed up at their driveway at 6:30 p.m. saying there was an evacuation order for properties in the area. That shocked the couple and sent them into a frenzy, trying to make accommodations to safely remove their 30 rescue horses, cows, dogs, cats, and other animals.
It was a little terrifying. We got all of the animals we could ready in the vehicles, so we could, at a moment's, there's one running around now, at a moment's notice, get out of here. But the horses and the other animals, we needed to make plans for right away.
So they say strangers rallied around them, sending empty livestock trailers and strong arms to help get everyone, including those animals, to safety. We're told the same thing was happening at a cattle ranch nearby. Now, thankfully, crews were able to contain the blaze, and the evacuation order was lifted around 9:30 p.m. That's at the same time when the Yellowhead Highway was reopened to traffic. The Bevins are thankful that they're safe tonight, but say this is a reminder of just how dangerous fire can be.
If there's a fire ban, fire advisory, whatever, pay attention to it and don't light things on fire.
Yeah, it's just not worth the risk. It can just destroy so much and hurt so many people so quickly. So.
Fire's not cooperative.
You heard it there, and I experienced it myself. I was hiking at Elk Island National Park all day. On my way out, I saw 2 unattended campfires just smoking, smoldering in the wind. They were not put out correctly. Now, of course, fire advisories have popped up all around the province ahead of the long weekend, and this just goes to show why. Reporting from Lamont County, Sarah Ryan, Global News.
Very, very sad. I have lots of memories of that place. Not only is it kind of part of my ancestors, some lineage, it was a beautiful landmark. If you've never been there, it was as traditional as it can get. The thatch roofs, they would have people, volunteers that would come in. I think they did pay staff as well, but most of it was volunteer driven. they would do the authentic cooking. Everything from milk cheese, cottage cheese, all of the original how they did it back in the day in Ukraine. I'm once I find out anything more, I will be sure to put it on the next episode. I'll be watching this closely. Like I said, this is a beautiful place. This is a crying shame that it happened, and people, don't ever walk by. If you see somebody who did leave their campfire unattended like that, with the camp is gone, obviously, if they're gone, snuff it out. Take the time to do it. We have to protect our country from this type of it's sheer incompetence. It's really sad. Now, this may not have been started from a campfire. This could have been started by somebody on purpose. This could have been literally an accident. It could have been anything, but just pass the word and make sure, if you ever do see that or see smoke, like I know our rural area, anytime anybody sees any smoke, right away, you get on whatever you can and you get over to make sure that it's contained. It just takes a millisecond for it to get out of control. Hopefully the damages aren't that bad. It does look like they lost 2 or 3 buildings, the stables and the cookhouse, from what I recognized in those pictures. What's left of them. Wasn't really a lot of good footage there. There actually isn't a lot of news about this, so I'll try and keep you informed. Let's move on to Mark Carney here. I'm just going to point out some of, I'll let him talk and we'll just go through this. You're getting really tired of the lies out of this guy and media, just not asking him the questions they should be asking. Oh boy, let's take a go at her.
Who is best placed to manage through that? Not just manage through it, but to create a better future for all. Now, I, for better or worse, have managed crises almost all my professional life. I helped us manage through the 2008 financial crisis. I helped guide the UK through the Brexit turmoil. I think.
Okay, let's just straighten this out right now. Once again, now obviously my subscribers already know this, but if for those new subscribers out there that haven't seen this, he's been called out on this already many a times. Let's just take a listen right from the man himself.
Canada is and always has been our country. And we want Canada to be a true north that is as strong and as free as it can be, in every way that matters, the best country in the world. I said these words as Prime Minister, and they are still true today. I led Canada through the global financial crisis.
Yes, he led Canada with the help of Jim Flaherty. May he rest in peace. One of the probably best ministers of finance Canada has ever had. Mark Carney keeps taking credit where he has none at all.
Today, we also face big challenges from the Trump administration and the performance of our own economy. The 2 men running to lead us both once worked for me, and my choice unequivocally is Pierre Poilievre. Only Pierre is putting forward an actual plan to make life affordable, make our streets safer, and put us in a strong position in dealing with the U.S. Only Pierre will bring change. Please join.
Okay. And as for Britain,
I think it is extraordinary that Mark Carney has become the Prime Minister of Canada. He did a terrible job in Britain of the governorship of the Bank of England. He created a lot of the problems that blew up on my watch and that I got blamed for were actually created by him. He backed Labour in the election and Rachel Reeves's policies, which are leading the country to bankruptcy. So why on earth the Liberal Party of Canada has selected this man, I have no idea. And I think it is illegitimate that this guy has never been elected as a member of Parliament in Canada. I'm utterly puzzled, and the Canadians. I'm not going to tell the Canadians how to vote. Obviously, I want the Conservatives to be elected in Canada, but I think it's Justin Trudeau has pursued a lot of the same policies that Europe has been pursuing. And America has raced ahead of us. Back at the turn of the millennium, the average Brit was catching up with the average American in terms of income per head.
Wow.
We are now $34,000 a year behind. We are poorer than Mississippi, which is the poorest American state. And the same is true. The same is true of France and Germany, and to some extent of Canada, because they pursued all of these woke policies. High taxes, high spending, not using their natural resources. And Justin Trudeau was the architect of that. And of course, Mark Carney has been the advocate of these policies. So I don't know what is going on in Canada, but in the same way as I think people in Britain need to wake up to what the real threat to our country is, I think they need to wake up in Canada.
Absolutely correct. And the latest stats are in, and this is where we are sitting. Britain is just below Mississippi. We are just above Mississippi, below Virginia. By the way, Mississippi is America's poorest state. I don't know if you've seen videos of what it looks like in West Virginia. It's not good, people. And you can see this all over Canada with the tent cities, the homeless, and the fact that people can't buy houses. They are cramming into, we'll just say it as it is, shitholes that are costing them more than they make in a month. It takes 2 families or more to rent a place. Our Canada's going to hell in a handbasket. And let's just move on a little further and listen to some more verbal diarrhea coming from this guy.
With them, President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. Now, that will never happen. That will never happen. Canada is not America. It will never be part of America. But we need a plan to deal with this new reality. Because, and I know this from experience, that in a crisis, plan beats no plan. A plan provides direction in the fog of uncertainty. A plan provides purpose. It rallies the team. It drives action.
He's going around telling everybody, Trump's going to take us over. Trump's going to blah, 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 blah. Well, you know what? If this party stays in, Trump will have that ability. Because he's just going to crush us economically if we start fighting back and not doing what he wants us to do. He more than anything, he's concerned about our military and the Chinese infiltration in Canada. Don't take it from me. Take it from the guy who got his pee-pee whacked.
We're going to continue on. They also agreed we're going to carry these conversations on next week. As Secretary Lutnick told us, he's not invading Canada and all the other nonsense that's been going on. He wants to boost up Canada. It's in their best interest. After, if I can put it bluntly, after they fill their plate. But I went on to mention that you can't flick on a switch and create a car plant overnight. You can't switch on a flick of the lights and open up a aluminum plant. So I think they're coming to realize how important.
Now, he goes on carrying on some bullshit, which I show in previous episodes. I urge you to watch them. He got a hell of a tongue lashing, and he got a reality check from his big mouth. He's a lot calmer now than he was before. I would love to have been a fly on the wall during that meeting. Well, let's just go through a little wee bit more and break down his bullcrap.
Justin Ling, freelance. Last night at the debate, you said the single greatest threat facing Canada was China. I'm hoping you can expand on that a little bit and tell me a bit about how our current relationship with the U.S. impacts that threat, and specifically how you would stand up for the sovereignty of Taiwan, given the current chaos and uncertainty.
Well, there's several aspects to China. I'm very clear-eyed about China. It is the second largest economy in the world. It is our second largest trading partner. It is also, and I'll choose my words carefully, given that I'm briefed on these matters and have my security clearance and do that.
Right. Security clearance.
Your
Again.
thoughts, Tom, on the impact of that and the nature of it, the question swirling. What do you make of it?
Well, I think that Pierre Poilievre is right now, and he has always been right when he has refused these so-called security briefings because it would require him to say that he wouldn't do his job. The leader of the official opposition, His Majesty's loyal opposition, has a job under our Constitution to hold the government to account. And it's not true that because somebody in the security apparatus says, well, if you want this information, you're going to have to promise never to use it, that means that a leader of the opposition is being irresponsible if he doesn't take the bait. I would never have accepted to do that. When there were serious security issues, you know what used to happen? Stephen Harper, respecting constitutional convention, would call me. His staff would set it up, and once I was at a wedding, and they tracked me down because he wanted to share with me some important information that he knew would be in the news in the next couple of days, and he wanted me to have it. And
now that's what a real leader does. Not like the loser Trudeau we had, who lied, deceived. He did everything he could to stay in power instead of doing what he was supposed to do, which was unify Canada and keep us safe. And by doing what he did, only proved how infiltrated the entire Liberal Party is.
It's a clear understanding that in your role, when you're being shared information like that by the Prime Minister, you're going to hold on to it. You're not going to go and blab it at a press conference. So I do think that this is a bit of a mugs game that they're playing right now with Poilievre.
And do you think Jagmeet would? He'd blab it all over the place because he's just like Trudeau. These guys have no moral base at all. No moral compass. And it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Liberal candidate invited head of suspected secret Chinese police station to a campaign event. Montreal Liberal candidate invited the head of two organizations suspected by the RCMP of operating a secret Chinese police station. The invitation by Alexandra Mendez, the Liberal incumbent running for re-election in Brossard, St. Lambert, sowed consternation within the Liberal Party, which has faced scrutiny over multiple candidates. Comments about or apparent links to the Chinese government. In a picture provided by National Post, Zizi Li, the head of two controversial Chinese community organizations and a Brossard city councillor, is seen attending an invitation-only dinner hosted by Mendez Tuesday evening. I am pleased to invite you all to Rallying Spaghetti Dinner for the 2025 election campaign, reads a copy of the invitation from Alexandra Mendez sent to an event attendees and obtained by National Post. Liz is the executive director of service of La Famille Chenot de Grand Montreal and the Centre Sino-Quebec de la Rive du Sud. In 2023, the RCMP announced that it was investigating suspicions that the organization secretly housed a Chinese police station that may be supporting efforts to intimidate or silence critics of China's ruling communist regime. At the time, the RCMP said the investigation was part of a larger probe, aiming to detect and perturb criminal activity supported by foreign state that can threaten the safety of people living in Canada. 1 month later, it is said it had shut down illegal police activity in Ontario, Quebec, and British Columbia. No charges have been laid against Lee or the organization she heads. SFGCGM and CSQRS leadership, as well as Lee, have vehemently denied the RCMP's allegations and filed a $4.9 million defamation lawsuit against the National Police Force in 2024. These allegations only serve to stigmatize and reinforce stereotypes and prejudices against historically marginalized groups. The SVCGM leadership said in January a statement detailing the impacts of the investigation on the organization. Early this month, the RCMP requested that the lawsuit to be put on pause for a third time until it completes its investigation by January. Since the investigation is still ongoing and there are legal steps to be taken, we cannot offer any comments at this time, RCMP spokesperson Corporal Eric Gass said in response to the National Post's request for comment. Lee's attendance at Mendez' event was first reported by Le Journal de Montréal. National Post obtained photos and confirmation of Lee's attendance at the event independently. I was invited in my role as a citizen of Brossard and a sitting city councillor, Lee wrote in an email. it just doesn't end with this party. Now we're just going to do a few updates. This has all kind of been rolling out here since the debates. You can definitely see there is some hiding going on. Let's take a listen to Daisy.
This very nondescript building here. Yeah. So all the signs have been taken off this building, but if Denny slows down for a sec, slow down, Denny.
Oh, you can see right in there.
Yeah.
You can see Mark
In the very inside. There you go. Campaign office. So all of the signage has been taken down. There is nothing indicating that Mark Carney's campaign office is in here. But it is. If you look through the 3 layers of tinted glass, you can just make out the signs. It's interesting. Mark Carney has removed all the signage from his campaign office. What are you hiding, Carney?
I agree. What are you hiding, Carney? Now, this is Alex Zoltan. From what I understand, I got to do a little bit more reading on him. He's the independent journalist who threw a couple of really good questions, like what is a woman? How many genders are there? From what I've read, like I said, I'm going to do more research, so this is just kind of a brief kind of what I've seen. I don't know for sure, but I do know that he does come from, he is a refugee, his parents. I'm not sure. I think they fled a communist country, and I think his grandparents were executed or something. I'm gonna have to look more into this. So for all of these mainstream media who are trying to hack them, hack the independent journalists out there, maybe they should actually take a couple steps back and start understanding the lives of what made a lot of us do what we do. We weren't gifted, and especially him, from what I've read. Like I said, I'm going to do more research on him. He's quite fascinating, and now that I've kind of been doing a lot of the, checking on what he's been writing, he's actually a really good independent journalist. And he goes out of his way to get the stories. And he's a young guy. So kudos out to Alex Zoltan. Hey, buddy, I'm cheering you on. Here's an update and his thoughts about what happened that night with the whole left-wing propaganda arm losing their shit over having real media share their room and ask legitimate questions.
Alex Zoltan here with True North. I am still right outside the CBC headquarters. I just went around the corner because I had to decompress. That was just an absolute shit show. What a crazy, crazy event. So the best way to describe what I think happened, maybe I can provide a little bit of a description of the setting. So the media center is essentially a big movie theater. And you watch the debate in this movie theater, and then the party leaders come into the room after the debate, and that's when the scrum occurs. We were all waiting for the leaders to arrive and for the scrum to occur, and that's when we were told that there would be no scrum. That's where individual journalists are able to ask the leaders who want to be the prime minister, they want to be in charge of the country, questions, sometimes remarkably uncomfortable questions, because our public officials should be beholden to answering questions from the public, even if they are uncomfortable. That did not occur. Why did it not occur? It's not exactly clear. So they told us that there was a safety concern. I don't actually buy that explanation whatsoever, because the debate itself is remote. So there's absolutely no reason whatsoever why we should not be allowed to ask them questions, even if it's remotely. They don't have to come into the room. I mean, if the atmosphere is so tense in the room, then just do it remotely. The best way to describe what I think happened is that yesterday the independent media outworked and outclassed the CBC and the mainstream media. So instead of losing gracefully, they flipped the board. I also find it very hard to believe that this decision did not come from the top, which would be either the Prime Minister designate, Mark Carney, or the head of the CBC, or the executives of the CBC, I should say, who rely on Mark Carney and the Liberal Party for their salaries. So with that, signing off, Alex Zoltan, True North.
Now, I discussed this on the previous episode where I was talking about this. Ezra Levant actually said he was game. Why didn't they do it remotely then if there was a security problem? Or why didn't they just limit it to one question and no follow-up if there was a time issue? He was game for any of it, and so were all of the independent media. They just wanted a fair chance, because the only real leaders let all media ask them questions. And right now, there's only two: Pierre Poilievre and Maxime Bernier. You can ask them anything, and they will answer your question. That should tell you right there which parties are the ones with legitimacy. This came from the top down. And here's a little bit of evidence on why they couldn't fight it. They got beat. Ezra used the justice system, democracy, the charter, and our Constitution in order to win twice. And not just win, undecidedly kick the Liberals' ass in court. They couldn't go back a third time because they knew if they did, there was going to be huge repercussions against the Liberal Party. And they didn't want to risk that. So they did this instead. This is a cover-up. They used security as a cover-up. There's no doubt about it. Just the facts.
With us to explain and also to defend himself, Michel Cormier, the General Director of the Leaders' Debates Commission. Mr. Cormier, hello. So how come there were 5 journalists there? I'm using quotation marks, who represented this media last night.
But because we lost 2 cases in court in 2019 and 2021, because it's important to know that we had tried to prevent rebel news from participating in these press conferences. Because I agree with Chantal that they are not journalists, as we understand it, but we lost those 2 cases. And for months, we've been communicating through our lawyers with rebel and their lawyers.
Now you got to remember, Ezra wasn't just fighting for Rebel. He was fighting for all independent journalists. If you want to hear him say it from his mouth, tune into the previous episode, because I show him saying that. He actually goes out and scrums with a whole bunch of this left-wing media, as well as other independents who are catching the conversations, pointing out the fact this is for the freedom of speech and information. This is crucial. And these guys, they have controlled the media for so long, they thought that they had mastered it. And they're trying their best again with Carney. These people will do anything to stay in power. Ezra just stuck up for freedom of speech.
For months, we've been communicating through our lawyers with rebel and their lawyers to try to limit the number of journalists. So rather than risk another trial that we would surely lose, because with the previous 2, it would have been impossible to win this one. We did. We gave them 5 passes for the press conferences. There are still many journalists. The other media also have passes that can be exchanged.
Only his propaganda, and again Ezra pointed this out, every single one of them are on the payroll of the federal government. They've been bought and paid. There's a few who even go, oh, no, we aren't. And Ezra goes, yeah, who are you with? Oh, I'm with so-and-so. And he goes, yes, you are. You guys get hundreds of millions of dollars. Knock it off.
A journalist from an organization can ask a question, leave the line, hand his badge to a journalist, his colleague from the same organization.
Now, from what I heard, they were doing that. But he wasn't passing them off to the same organization. He was passing them off to Juno and other independents. He was giving his time to other journalists. You don't get any classier than that. I don't care what, some people may like him, some people don't. That you need to have freedom of information, freedom of the press, and freedom of speech. These are crucial in order to have a democracy.
Same thing happened in 2021, except it was more over the phone because of COVID. But at that time, the court had told us you must accredit 11 journalists from Rebel. So those are court orders. It's hard not to obey them.
And again, he's lying, like I just mentioned. He gave them to all, every independent.
So that causes what we saw yesterday. We'll see today if there's a way to try to better manage traffic for tonight.
And there it is. And there it is. They didn't want this. They're going to try every possible way to shut down the free press. They do not want real journalists asking real questions, exposing how corrupt and twisted this liberal regime is.
English debate.
What does that mean? Better manage the traffic?
No, but to see if we can, I don't know. We will explore options with the producer then.
Okay, but the 5 there, what's it based on?
It's based on the fact that...
You say last time we were forced to have 11. Now we allowed 5 journalists to attend based on what?
Well, based on if, for example, we had said we did the evaluation and thought that 5 was still half of 11, then that would probably work. Otherwise, we didn't want to end up in court with another judgment forcing us to accredit even more. Is that it?
With us.
Right from the horse's mouth. You got to remember this was done in French. That's why it's a little wee bit different than the interview he had on English TV. Corrupt to the core. It was a setup. Carney was in on it. They were all in on it. Now you want to see Unhinged? Scott Reed, CTV. He's one of the like the 5 panelists that they have, main panelists that they have all the time. This guy is a quack. I have to have this stuff on 24 hours a day. It drives my family and friends nuts. But it doesn't matter what I'm doing. I need to know what they're saying and twisting. The art of war. You gotta know. You keep your friends closer. You keep your friends close. You keep your enemies closer. You have to know. And I'm fortunate enough that I study propaganda. I've done this for decades. I'm desensitized to it. There are certain triggers that I catch. I don't even have to necessarily be hearing every single word of it, but I'll hear a catchphrase in my brain. Something will go off my brain and I'll turn around and I'll have to go back and I'll rewind it and I'll listen to it and go, oh, there they go again. Time mark, write that down. You want to hear Unhinged? If you have kids in the house or anywhere near, you might want to turn the volume down or maybe leave the room or get the kids to leave the room. This guy goes unhinged. Listen to this crap.
There you go, this debate commission. They're on top of this thing, hey?
Wait, are we going to do this now, or are we going to revisit this thing?
Do it now.
Well, then let's fucking do it. Okay, fuck these guys. Fuck these right-wing incel asswipes. Fuck them over and over and over again. This is a fucking election campaign, and they seized the weakness of Michel Cormier and the commission to turn last night into a fucking clown show.
No, they didn't. They fought for their rights. They fought for their charter and constitutional rights. Listen to this baby. Listen to this absolute suckhole lose his shit.
Right. First of all, they start goading people. Cormier and the commission, of course, allow Ezra, an arsonist, into the room, and then they give him a nice bunch of fucking kindling and a match.
Now, I showed you the footage, and there's still going to be more coming out, and I'll be pulling little snippets off as this goes on. They were incredibly cordial. They were watching their backs, yeah, because they knew they were in the wolf den, and they had to watch what they were doing. But look at what Keenan showed. They were unhinged. They were the ones who went completely insane, psychotic. It's like they all went off their meds. They were the ones picking and goading and mad, and because Ezra kicked them off their taxpayer pedestal. And here you go. This is what they were doing. This is what the propaganda arm, this is how they talked and treated to those independent journalists.
And, they get into an argument with them. That allows them to tape everything. And then we, Corey, myself, Kathleen, we're all kicked out of. They just said their reaction is, all right, well, we're going to lock down the media filing room, which is where we were supposed to watch it. So they're like, okay, we're going to kick everybody out. That way it will maintain some integrity in this room. So they kick us out, but they leave the fucking rebel in. And then it just turns into complete pandemonium where they start harassing media, even as like the crew, like just regular workaday Joes are trying to remove the material. These guys are filming it, antagonizing them, provoking them. And then when people say, hey, get the fuck out of the way, they run to the police literally and say, I've been assaulted. Why won't you arrest them? That fucking menzoid twat. Fucking all over the place. And then it was so. And
again, you saw the footage of that on the previous episode. They literally see that they swatted the phone right out of his hand. They won't answer questions. They're caught. They're caught in their own fecal pile of bullshit. And they hate it. We're watching the slow demise. I'm so glad I get to see it happening in real time. They need to see that, like, people need to see this. And we got to remember, though, they control the mass part of media. And this is why I need you to like, share, and subscribe, especially people like Daisy Media, Juno, Caraman Rules, Rebel News. There's piles of this out there. You gotta support them any which way you can, because that's how we squash the propaganda arm. By exposing the actual control that people aren't aware they're under. Let's let this fruitcake keep going. It's hilarious. Like this guy is completely hot. Like he seriously needs to lay down and maybe have a talk with Jordan Peterson and take some meds, because this is insane behavior.
So bad that the CBC crew, like literally Dave Cochran and Rosie Barton, had to be escorted by security because all these incel assholes were waiting for them, and they literally the police were concerned for their physical security.
Bullshit.
Like, these guys disrupted a democratic exercise. They delighted in it. They filmed it. They raised money off of it. And Michelle Carnier and the commission invited all, melted down when it occurred, and had no plan, no ability, and no wit to try to manage it. It was just a complete fuck show from start to finish.
And there you go. I hope he drowns in his propaganda bullshit. I hope his whole castle comes crumbling down, because that's what we need if we're going to start to see real parties, real electoral processes, real MPs, start to see the truth, see where our tax dollars are going, follow all of this corporate greed, follow all of the corruption, follow all of the infiltration, especially the Liberal Party with China. It's ridiculous how much of it is out there. Now, this is great. So, again, you kind of allot questions out. And the left-wing media, the propaganda arm, is trying every which way to bait Poilievre. They're trying to bait him. Listen to this. They waste 2 questions. This is awesome. Poilievre, way to go, buddy.
Bonjour, M. Poilievre. Étienne Malouin de TVA. À la lumière des événements des derniers jours, est-ce que selon vous, la commission des débats des chefs devrait être abolie, si oui ou non, pourquoi?
And why?
Je pense qu'on devrait.
I think we should focus on the issues that affect real people's lives. When 2 million people can't afford to buy groceries and have to rely on food banks. When young people can't afford to buy a home, when crime is rising in our communities. We're not going to waste our time with liberals who just want to distract us. Liberals don't want to defend their disastrous record. That's our priority, and that's what we're going to deliver.
Merci. On passe à la prochaine question.
The question is about the debates. Mr. Poilievre, Thomas Mercier from 98.5. Should the debate commission be abolished? The debate about the debate. The real question is, are we going to re-elect the Liberals for a fourth term after a lost decade? Rising costs and the growing crime in our streets. You're not answering. What we need is change. To cut taxes, to unleash our natural resources and build homes so Canadians can live safe, affordable lives. That is the real debate. Thank you. Look at them lose their shit. And all the independents and all the crowd clap. The whole crowd behind them is clapping. While these guys are losing it. They're losing it. They're losing it because they're losing it. We may very well have a chance to watch this propaganda arm crumble. And pray to God that Poilievre wins a majority so that all of this comes crashing down. Now, I don't know if you've heard about this. The whole longest ballot in election history. These people prop up the Liberals. They have their own party, yes, but they prop up the Liberals and the NDP. They used to prop up the NDP more than anything. But they're big hardcore Liberals now because Liberals have jumped. They leapfrog right over top of the NDP socialism right into fascism. This is them. This is their website. The Marxist-Leninist Party of Canada. If you can imagine even such a thing exists. Now, hey, it's democracy, so whatever. Everybody's got their own right. But this is scary. And what do these people do? They put so many names on this ballot to try and make it incredibly hard for a voter to go in and actually vote, let alone find the person they're looking for. These people are evil. If it was a serious party, they would have their one representative on there. But oh no, they're going for Poilievre. And they've done this before. This is just a repeat. These people are absolutely crazy. Wow. Now, last story of the episode. This is a beautiful story. It's about this cougar that gets rescued. I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to play the video. This is remarkable. It just made my day. Man rescues a trapped mountain lion. What happens next? Uh-oh, I gotta mute this. I won't be able to. Damn music. There we go. They just got him free. Now, so this man's shocked when the mountain lion follows him home. Waiting outside the door, outside the windows. A couple happily adopted this mountain lion. Look at this. Look at this. Look at the size of this mountain lion. And then, of course, what do you think it should be named? Look at it, open the door. It lives there. Isn't that amazing? Makes me think of the, of course, I'm not going to share the name or anything because of what happened in New York with that owner of that squirrel. I don't know if you heard about that. Maybe I'll do that on a future episode. But a couple had rescued this squirrel and made a pet out of it. And they became he was doing like viral TikToks and stuff of it, and a neighbor got mad, jealous, more than likely a liberal, because that's a liberal thing to do. They can't have pride in their neighbors. They can't see somebody else doing better than them or doing well. I don't understand that philosophy, but But she ratted him out. And in the meantime, they had also rescued a raccoon. And this raccoon was part of this house. Like, you can imagine, a raccoon and a squirrel. Like, that is a house of love. If you can get a raccoon and a squirrel to live together with your cats and dogs, like, that's pretty impressive. Anyways, New York SPCA, or whatever they call it down there, literally, they didn't bash the doors in, but they forcefully came in and they removed those two animals. And while the couple was trying to raise money and fight him in court, which I like I said, I got to do a little bit more research, but it sounds like they won on the squirrel. It was too late. They euthanized him. So there was this huge uproar about it, and they're actually going to try and change laws to stop that from happening again. These people weren't breeding them. They weren't capturing them. They rescued them. And these critters became their friends. And next, what do? I mean, then you're going to leave them sitting there starving outside. You start feeding them, and then they become domesticated on their own. Most of the time, they're a runt or they're a weaker part of their species. I'm all for that. That was just beautiful. I love seeing it. That animal would think about it. It got caught in like a trap. What are they going to do? Put it down? This is where a lot of people in the city don't get it. You got to live in the bush or rural to understand nature. You have to incorporate nature into it. If you decimate it, you become the destructor, and you can't do that. You can't remove part of a cyclical system without causing huge impacts, and that's what these cities do. And they're all worried about their dogs. You know what? The dog moved into the wolf or the coyote or the bear's area. They didn't move into yours. You're in their ecosystem. You have to live with them. Yes, you have to control them. This is where I'm a huge, gun rights fan, because you have to watch the amount of predators, and you can train them to stay away. Animals are incredibly smart. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed the show. Hopefully I kept you informed. Until next time, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. If you are, punch that notification key so you do not miss a future episode. Until next time, I'm Alias the Guy. You've been watching the Canadian Citizen Journal. Stay informed.